I'm sure you should be able to see my screen. And so I'm going to talk about, we have a learning bot. We have a bot. It's a Telegram bot anyway, like something on a chat that can answer your questions, and more importantly, will help you to learn Power BI. Though we are still building it, but we've done the DAX formula side of it. So I'm going to expose it, expose you to it, like show you how it works, and then maybe get your suggestions of what you would like to see in it, and also if there are things you want us to change about it too. So it goes both ways anyway. So you can give us suggestions. You can also tell us something that is there that we should knock off. So that's the both side. And then I'm going to also walk us through some of the frustrations that personally I encountered in my journey in Power BI, and I'm still on that journey. I've not arrived. So I'm sure some of you would have noticed some of my own frustrations if you have if you have been attending our sessions before now. When I start mentioning my own, you'll be like, oh yes, that's true. You've always noticed it. This part used to be a bit of a glitch even in my sessions. But first of all, as usual, let us even try to get everybody's opinion. So I have broken it into 5 different areas. So I want you to just like tell us, for you, what are the aspects that frustrate you or give you the most trouble in Power BI? So as usual, you could just go to www.menti.com and you can enter the code 6918873, and as usual, instantly, whatever you fill in there is going to pop up in here. Again, sorry for the music. There's nothing I can do. I'm not the one playing it, so I can't turn it down. I just hoping that it's not going to be as loud at your own end as maybe it is here. So, so I thanks for those just joining. I wanted to just quickly let us know, give us some perspective, fill in this poll. The poll link is also in the chat box. So if you go to your chat box, you will see that I've pasted the poll link. You can just go straight to that link and pop in your answer. Which aspect of Power BI gives you the most trouble? So I've seen one DAX. Okay, maybe our bots might help with I don't know, but maybe help a bit with that, because the bots actually, the DAX part of it is complete, so that's a good one to get a feedback on. Maybe if two more people feeling something, then that will be the base of my assumption of our current state. So I'm hoping one or two more people feeling something there. Remember, you can go to www.menti.com. It's on the screen, and it's also in the chat box. And you just enter that code 6818873. You don't even need to space them. Just enter the codes together. Or you go to the link that I put it up in the chat box. So maybe just one more, so I don't waste too much time at this stage. I'll just go on. We just take it as maybe everybody sees DAX as the most troubling side of the Power BI. And so, great. I'm going to start with the bot first of all. Or where should I start? Yeah, so let me start with the bot. I'll still come back to it then. Or let's start with the bot. So I have on Telegram. So I have a bot on Telegram that we've created. So we created a bot. Let me see if I can increase my screen soon. Where we go? Okay, great. So someone has also given a feedback, and for him it's Power Query. So I want to just quickly I want to great. I want to zoom my screen so that the things I'm showing us will come out a bit bigger at your end. So if I go here and I choose a higher zoom level, that should do the trick. Okay, so the things are coming bigger now. Okay, great. So let me quickly, now Telegram should be looking a bit bigger. This is looking a bit tiny. But no problem. I can zoom. I have another zoom that I can use. So if you go on, on Telegram, if you if you search for Learn Power BI bot, if you type this in your Telegram, you're going to come across this. So let me type it. Learn Power. We even have one for Excel, so in case you're interested in Excel. Learn Power BI bot. So if you just search for it, it's going to come up. It came up before anyway. Yeah. So you see, this is it. So you can message it directly, and so what it does is, so let's say I say hi to it. So it's gonna amazing Power BI learning bot. It's a sponsored free tool from your VZ, which is us. You can take it's just like an advert. You can take our training by visiting. Anyway, so what DAX formula would you like to learn today? So the person who said DAX gives you trouble, like even personally, DAX gives me trouble too. Times I just want to refresh my knowledge about there's some DAX formulas that, I know maybe they are what I should use, but I'm not just so sure. I want to see an example. I want to just something to quickly refresh my memory about that DAX. So this thing helps. So you could type the DAX formula and instantly it will give you. So for instance, I will demo anyway. So let me just continue the reading. So what DAX formula would you like to learn today? If you don't have any formula in mind, you can just reply with category. So if you reply with category, it's going to show you all the categories of formulas in that's strange. So it's like my engineer has, thank God I've seen this. Engineer Kule has missed this part. Okay, so not a problem. Actually, there is a portion where you're supposed to list all the categories. Maybe I should just use this opportunity to show you the backend. So the backend is actually this. I can fix that category that is not showing anyway. I can quickly fix it. So if I just go, dialog flow. Quickly fix that one. So some of you who are interested might just be able to pick up. Oh, so this is how one can create a bot at the back. I use Google. Microsoft when I was building these and I was using the Microsoft one. I faced too much trouble. That time they were switching. They were switching from one version to another. So you know what I did last week? They will just suddenly email me that no, they stopped using that approach. That there is a new approach. So it was becoming so much of a lot of work. So I tried to use Google, and I found that wow, Google kind of was not giving me that much trouble. So I'm surprised why the category didn't come up. Oh, we did not have category to it. So I just had this category, and I saved. Okay, so let's go test it out again. But anyway, if you have typed something else apart from if you have typed formula, it will have seen it. Okay, great. So you type category and it replies with all the different categories of formulas in in Power BI. And if you type date and time, so or let's try something. Say I'm interested in logical formulas, logical functions. We're going to list out all the logical functions. And so there's like, okay, I know everything. I think I don't really know coalesce. Let me find out what it does, right? And so you see instantly it comes up with, oh, so coalesce is a formula that returns the first expression that does not evaluate to blank. So if all the expressions evaluate to blank, blank is returned. So the one that does not evaluate to blank, well, the first is the one that gives you. So you could be like, still I am not sure where I'm going to use it. But again, at least now this helps me to see an example of how it works. You write, evaluate, coalesce, blank. So I could be like, okay, let me go try out this thing. So what do? I could just head back to my Power BI and I could go to the model side and I could be like, okay, you know what, that thing I saw there, I want to try it out. So I want to create a new table and then I want to try out the coalesce that we are just seeing. So I'm going to, okay, so I could say I want to test out and then I could just go grab that formula and say, okay, you know what? Let me just test this out and see what comes out of it. So it says it's not a table expression. I'm going to wrap it in a row. So that's the trick we use if you want the thing to come out in a table. So I can say the test, I can call it the test. So let's see if come out with an answer. So let's see what will come out. So I use row to, if there's something I want to do and I want to see, so it's saying, I still don't know how it's working correctly anyway. But if I want, I could have created them separately and say, okay, this would be a date. Well, anyway, not to so much divert from the key thing I was trying to explain. The fact that if there's any formula you are learning, right, or you want to, like for me, there's a formula that I used this for recently, Twitter. And then when I saw it, I'm like, it's not really as difficult as I've always been looking at it. So you could just type in the formula there and boom, it will give you the link, what the formula is about. So let me just grab for us the link so that you can try it on your own. So I've dropped in the chat box if you're on Telegram, just search for this. You come across the board and it helps you to learn DAX. So it's for now, all the DAX functions are in it. But we are going to add more. We're going to add the tasks. So you could say, oh, I want to, how do I maybe on pivot? And then it will explain to come up with an explanation of how you pivot the table. You could ask it questions. So I want to just give you the direct link to anyway. So let's see if I can pull up the direct link. So this is the direct link. I'm going to just dump it in the chat box. So that is another link you could use to directly access the book. So anybody got a feedback of what you think you want, you can try it as we go on. As when I come back to this when we get to the frustration side. I'm still going to come back to this. Then I can get your feedbacks. So, all right. Back to here. How do I make my screen show completely now? I'm going to go home. So, what are the places that we face? That we face. How do I make? All the things I'm written are no longer showing correctly. And well, I will write them again. It's not too difficult to write again. Okay, so the different places, frustration points, in Power BI. So one, as you've seen me show us here, one is the Power Query itself, right? Let me just take this back to Google screen. So one is Power Query. So I'm going to tell you the thing about Power Query. Power Query. So when we talk about Power Query, most of the frustrations is, well, you don't know whether to use Power Query, or to use DAX, to use a formula. So that's one place that sometimes people get confused. Am I supposed to do this in Power Query or in DAX? So let me quickly help us with some rule of thumbs. So when it comes to Power Query, the thing you should think of is transformation. So when you think transformation, the other word that you balance it against it is, I could say transformation, and on the other side, there's building. Now I try to understand it. If I'm transforming a data set, take for instance, a data set is arranged like, so let's see. So if I have a data set that is like this, where I have the date, and then I have regions. So Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, and I have different dates, I have different figures. And I want it to be transformed to this. I want it to be transformed to this, where date, then location, and then values. So I have the date, then I have Lagos, whatever value. Then I'll have Abuja, I'll have Port Harcourt, whatever value. This is transformation. I'm not building something. I'm not creating a table that does not exist. I am not trying to create new columns. I'm simply transforming what I have into something else that is going to be more useful for my modeling. Then Power Query, is where I want to go to for stuff like this. So that's what I mean by when you think transformation, then it's easy for you to do that it's Power Query. So I have some missing values in my data. So I have missing values. So if I have missing values, so it could be like, no, just empty rows. So what do I do? If I want to remove them. If I want to remove them, again, this is a transformation. I have a table already. I want to remove rows that have no value. Again, Power Query. Okay, so that's another thing that, when you have, I think I will have to turn the screen. Let's use. I will have to bring it back to the other Zoom level because it's not making it easy to write. So maybe when I need to use the Power BI, I will just use something else again. Okay, so great. Then what other kind of activities that when you face with them, so let me just be writing on the side here, the kind of activities. So I've mentioned you want to transform data, transform a table that you already have. And then underneath I've been using, the first one I showed us is actually called on pivot, this one, where you have a table that is looking like this. You have a table that is looking like this and you want to change it to like this. So this one is called on pivot. On pivot. Okay? Okay, great. Now, the other one is the missing value. So at this juncture, I will just move in straight to Power BI and then quickly try to illustrate more instead of and expecting that as I'm saying it, you'll be able to remember easily. As usual, my computer is always slow when I get to this Power BI webinar site. But not a problem. I'm going to still suck the life of it. Whatever. I'm not going to do the dark studio because that one used to make it now just go really, really berserk. So now, what are the things that I was mentioning? When it comes to all these type of transformations, for instance, I have a table that is like this. I have a table like this. So if you remember, I was saying something like that. I have a table. In this case, I have companies. I have some stuff, but I have the years this way. I want those years to collapse into a row. Great, that's the transformation. What do I use? I use Power Query. Power Query is what is meant for that. So what other kinds of transformations? So just think about it. Anything that is not like you are building. I'm not building a new column. I'm not building a new calculation type of thing. Then I just want to transform what I have into something that will be better for me to use. I want to remove duplicate. I want to remove some columns. I want to remove some rows. I want to split. I want to split some columns into two. I want to use first row as header. I want to even append tables. So I have two tables. I want to join them together. I want to do some kind of transpose. You know what we call transpose, where a table maybe it's like landscape, turn it to maybe it's landscape. Let's say this landscape. You want to turn it portrait, right? So all those things are here. This is where you do them. You want to reverse rows. You want to even group by. You don't want to see everything granularly. You want it to group all your data ahead for you before moving it into your analysis. So maybe your file will be smaller. Like I mentioned, when the word transform comes to your mind, you can interpret what you want to do as a transformation. Then Power Query. So that brings us, what is the next other part of Power Query that frustrates people? Do I need to know M code? So Power Query uses M, so Power Query uses M, using the Power Query uses singing some songs here. I hope you don't stop me. Uses M, that's what we call it, M. That's just M like that, or M language. I tell you the truth. That M is what you are seeing here anyway. This is an example of it. the truth is that you most times you never really need to write these things. So don't try to now burden yourself that, oh, if I don't know him how to write it from scratch, then I'm not going to be good with Power Query. No, the truth is just whatever you think you want to do and you want to use M for. If you go on Google and just search for it, you will see that there will be a button approach. So most of the common things we do, there's a button approach. So let me give you an example. Uh, well, the quickest way is if you just right click, you see a whole bunch of, if I right click on a column, I see a whole bunch of the kind of things that people are always wanting to do and they are looking for a code, a language, a formula to achieve it for them. No, even something as formula, even as I want to turn to uppercase, lowercase, trim. I want to extract the length of the text. I want to, trim. I want to, remove errors. I want to fill down, fill up. Some things that most of the times we try to do looking for formulas to do them. In Power Query, Microsoft has been really nice that they have created a button for most of all of those things. I want to change from something to another type of data. I want to move the data. I want to add, and then also there's obviously all these ones up here. I want to extract a particular type of text. And I want to extract the first characters. I want to extract something. Then even you want to carry out even all these media modes, like do that you don't need to worry about the formula to do them. Most of the time, you will find out that there is something in the menu that will do exactly that thing that you want to achieve. So that is one thing that I use. And also there are 3 different places, or should I say 4 different places? Okay, say 3 different places. So there is this obvious menu here where you check. But what I used to do is before I even check here, I first right click on the column I want to do something about, do something on. So a lot of times you will find most of the common tasks already, exposed to you when you right click. So if I don't see what I want to do here, the next thing I do is I click on this drop down here. Again, if I don't see what I'm looking for here, then I'm going to right click on just the name. So let me just exit this. I'm going to right click on something here instead of the header. This was where we had right click the last time. But now this time around, I'm going to right click here. So you don't see too much here, but again, it doesn't hurt to check, right? And then if I don't see it, then I start going from home menu, I start looking through, and then I go to transform menu, and I look through, and then I go to add color, I look through. Add color is kind of a self-giving away. If you know what you want to do does not involve adding the column, then you won't even bother checking that one. These ones anyway are much more about controlling the what you see on the table. So usually more of these 3, these 2 that you check, and I don't know, just once in a while you might find something that you want to do that this could have there, and you wouldn't have to be using something complex to achieve. So that's one of my own tricks to understanding what I should do with Power Query, and then what I shouldn't even worry about doing Power Query. So that's for Power Query. Now, after Power Query, there's relationships. So if you remember the slide I shared, so again, there's relationship. Luckily, none of you said you have struggles with relationships. So, but nevertheless, I'm still going to point out what I feel you should be aware of. So when it comes to relationships, relationships, the thing is, we have 4 types of relationships: one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, and many to many. Okay? And you know what? Let's move over here to explore those relationships. I'm going to go here. And if I go to relationships, so if I go to modeling, and I go to manage relationships, so let's see if I can pull up one relationship we can use to demonstrate. Okay, so let me zoom. Okay, so if I say I want to create a new relationship, relationships are when you want to make two tables kind of be able to talk to themselves. I could have like maybe customer's table, and then I could have another table that is like manager's table. So that way I want to say, okay, if I pick a customer here, the manager's name is in a different table. How do I make these two tables talk together, right? Talk to one another. So I normally will come here and create a new relationship, right? So the thing about relationship, like I mentioned, I'm just going to pick any two things anyway. So maybe I pick this and date. Looks like I don't have date. So let me just pick something else. So I could be like, date and date should be related. Uh, so this thing is beginning to start that dragging. I don't do this when I work normally. One day I'll have to sit and find out why does this happen whenever is it the teams that is affecting it? Is it something else? So while we wait for that to happen, let me see if I can click on this. Okay, great. So at least this is clickable. So if I click on this, it was clickable now. Okay, great. I can say you saw all those options. One to one means that the things I'm relating only occurs one time at a time on this table and also once at a time on this other table. So it's straightforward anyway. The many to one, if it occurs many times on this table, or only occurs once here. Maybe account manager is only here once, but the account manager can manage more than one customer. So that means the account manager can occur multiple times here. That's and then that's many to one. And similarly for one to many, it's the same thing. It's just that maybe the one side is on this left side and the many is on this side. Then the many to many is where, what it is you are relating occurs, multiple times on those tables. So where the confusion that I see people have is usually when they create a table and they choose many to many. Okay? So when you choose many to many, a warning comes up. There are some tables that you have that's the only option that will be there. Like it's just be many to many will be selected for you. So let's see if I can make this to show up faster. Looks like it has finally crashed. Let's see if I can pull up another table in that. Okay, I'm going to use this one. So I'm going to just go to relationships. New relationship, and then I come here on the create relationship between these two tables. Again, nothing meaningful here. Okay. So where the problem I said I noticed people struggle with. If you choose many to many, and so it's mentioning that you're using many to many, there is going to be some unexpected behavior, that you should be aware of. And then, do you want it to be single or both? So anytime you choose both in the cross filter, just that you are limiting how your report scale, because there's a limit to how many relationships around the same tables that can have both. If I create both cardinal direction relation to it between two tables, tables A and B, and I want to do the same thing between tables B and C. By the time I have to do that between tables C and D or C and A, then Power BI says no, there's going to be ambiguity. So that's what normally happens to when in real life your table you're working with are 4 today. The next year it has grown to 6. So every time you are using both, you are limiting how well you can scale your table. And so what that causes is that the more your tables are getting more, and you start seeing that things start breaking. You can't create relationships anymore if you have been using both. It will start complaining that you cannot create another. There's going to be ambiguity between one table and the other. So it's just that ambiguity that is one of the biggest problem with relationship. Then also sometimes you want to know, you know, how this relationship is going to affect your computations. So that's a bit more of DAX. But then there's a bit of some back and forth between some formulas, working in a very unique way. One example is related. If I create related and I choose single, sometimes I might not be able to. When I want to create related formula like DAX that is related between two tables, and I have chosen both in the relationship, sometimes the related would not work. And then when you change it, when I change single, it does not work sometimes. But when you change to both, then it starts working. And then you're like, oh, okay. So the thing is that relationships also affect formulas. So sometimes you might find out that it might be your relationship you need to tweak. Just know that on the surface, you want to always, use the less ambiguous way. You don't want to use many when you can use one to any of all these other three. And you don't want to use both when you can use single. Because when you use both or use many to many, you start having problems with scaling your report and performance. Okay, so that's the major stuff that I know that you need to be aware of as regards relationships. Okay, so the name of the relationship and then the direction. For relationship, there's single and there is both. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to move on to DAX. So what about DAX? The thing about DAX is that the formulas are a lot, to be sincere. I still have some struggles. So even me, this is one of my struggle points. You know how we used to complain about some people in Excel that they're using a formula that is not efficient. I've seen like somebody doing, cell A plus cell B plus cell D plus cell E, and instantly, this guy should have used some and it will have been better. So there are some times I feel like that this formula that I've used, so there are lots of DAX formulas. So which again, for some of us, we are coming from an Excel background. Some people are coming from an SQL or DB background. So from people from Excel background, formulas like some formulas are easy for us to wrap our head around. Switch, if, because they are exact same syntax. But then the guys coming from DB, especially those who have some experience with the SA, SS, for them, they are a lot already exposed to some of the things that we are not used to in Excel. So formulas that measures and let me just rewrite them. So they are much more Excel. SSAS. Why do I keep writing as SSAS? Okay. So they are much more used to table formulas. So for them, a formula like summarize is not going to come really looking different for them. Some formulas that some of us in the Excel side we are not used to. So some formulas even like total white day. Some formulas that we understand how it works or what it does, but using looks a bit foreign to us. Treat us calculate column or calculate table. Calculate table. So we find out that there are always these two camps. If you are from the Excel side, you will not have problem with the Excel looking like formulas. You start having problem with some formulas that are just completely new to you. And then those from the SQL side, they start having problems around some of the uh, formulas that we in the Excel side will not have issue with. Right. So what is my approach? So my approach is project based. Uh, plus just reading the formulas, just reading about as many formulas as possible. Because it's better you are aware of a formula. If you don't know a formula exists, you won't even know how to go about solving the problem you want to solve. So you just be using a knife to maybe cut what you use a cutlass for, right? So what I do is I try to create projects for myself that will force me to use that will force me to use DAX. So one quick way is if I have reports already in Excel, I try to migrate them to Power BI and recreate them. So that's one. Number two is I follow some gurus who they typically write about formulas. So I follow the SQL BI guys. SQL BI guys. I follow Riza Rad. I follow Matt Harlington. I hope I got his name right. You can Google them. So they keep a very uh, active blog where they write about these DAX and then what I also do is I use this my bots. I already showed you the bots, right? So I also use it. So if I'm once in a while, I will just go to the bot and just type that I want to. I could be like, okay, there's this formula that I use once in a while, but still, it's a bit. It's not. I'm not used to it, so I could be like, okay, I want to understand more about this formula. Uh, let me let me give. So okay, maybe filter. I've still not gotten a good grasp of it. So I try to read, what's the Microsoft explanation around it. And then when I'm read. So like for me now, sometimes I'm like, okay, what's the difference between summarize uh, and summarize table or summarize column, I mean. So what are the difference? So with this, I'm able to quickly pull up, okay, what does summarize do? So I read what summarize, the syntax and what it does. So I see the syntax is you provide a table, provide summary of a table. Then after you provided a table, you start saying group by this, group by that. And if you want to do a calculation, you provide the name of the column and you write your calculation expression. So then we summarize columns. So let's go check. And I'm like, oh, first of all, there's no table that I'm providing. Okay, then everything other every other thing looks similar, right? So yeah, so and it allows you to provide a filter table anyway. So again, still it might not sink in on you. So this you know I've given us the link. Let me just post it. So this chat bot, Power learning bot. This is the link again. For the DAX learning bot. One of the things I do when it comes to DAX. So yeah, let me get it there. Let me just quickly SQL BI. Oh, SQL BI. Copy the link. So I follow these guys. I follow. Let me get to the other ones. So I follow Razor. So again, so I successfully upload and don't get without me having much of a trouble going to every time. I get some are on a weekly, some are like almost once a month or a few times a month. Goes to the blog. So and I also follow Matt does a really nice. He's one of the people who I like the way he explains things. When he explains, something easier, like sometimes I wonder where he gets the time in the world because it goes on some really amazing projects. Maybe I'm going to get him to come guest on these events, and maybe we can let some of his trips. Because it puts that I'm like, where does he get the time? So these are the people that I follow for DAX. Okay. Then if you move on to report beautification. So this is where I know I have a deficiency. I'm not really good with all these color stuffs and the rest. So it's a bit of getting used to. In Excel, I could easily overcome that by hiding grid lines, doing some bit of. Okay, so Francis said guys in the queue. I don't think they focus really on just the DAX. Most times they try and show people, yeah, maybe overall, like they will come under. For me, I would rather put them under on building. Okay, but then nevertheless, let me put in their links there so that people can also. So, verification called beautification. What I do is I check out ideas in the Power BI gallery. So let me get us the link to the gallery. All right. So we got. So I think for ideas, that people's reports. So I get to see how some tricks, what they've done that makes their report look nice, and I'll be like, okay, I can see this guy tries to create like a frame website, okay, this navigation, this is the page, this is the main report. So you begin to see different ideas. So that when you are building, you begin to get some of those. And then another thing I do is this recent, this guy know about the Molada for. So there was a session we had that was two that he mentioned the effort so that he's kind of gifted with visualization. So let me just get you the his web his web address. In fact, get to his blog post link. So then Francis is building your stuff in PowerPoint, bringing it to Power BI to works. I think on a session of beautification, I think, but it's still too. Sometimes you need to have the concept of what you even would like to flesh out your report, concept-wise, and then that way when you're even doing it in Power BI. So those are the things. Let me just add it. So you could also use PowerPoint to help the background design. So those are the things I do when it comes to report beautification. So I try to check out from what people are doing. I follow up on this guy events. There's one other person. Unfortunately, I can't remember her URL. She's just like very gifted with this thing, and but she does Power BI too. So I think it's Cobalt, right? Let me just try and verify. Cobalt is Excel. There's another link. Cobalt. Let me see if it's Power BI. Yeah, Cobalt for Power BI. I think she does both Power BI and Excel. Yeah, it's definitely yeah. So let me quickly grab. She's more active on YouTube, but man, she's like very good. So I'm just going to you see she's a lot. So I also once in a while catch up with her content. Let me grab you a video channel.
So do you want to learn Power BI? Then you've gone to the right place.
Okay. So she's amazing with that part of the visualization to have come across. Report beautification for report beautification. So those are resources that I try to use. And some people are actually good. Okay, Francis, Tax Friday. Let me check it out. Tax Friday. Oh, okay, yeah, she runs Tax Friday. Yeah, just remember. So she does this tax. Francis is really helping us out here a lot. So she is mentioning that there's also Power BI experience. Let me just. So you can check them out. I'll look at that. I've not. I don't think I've gone through Power BI experience before. Okay, so I'm going to move the last, which is the so maybe it's an assumption that is not correct because but I just know that people ignore it. Let me just say people ignore Power BI service. So maybe it is that they ignore it. I see so many people that whenever they are trying to do Power BI, whatever they end up doing in the desktop is where they stop. They don't try to take it further, so they ignore it. They are handicapped dashboards. Dashboards are only possible. They are only possible in the service in Power BI. So usually advise just follow the updates. Follow Power BI official update announcements, because some of those announcements revolve around they revolve around Power BI service. So they will tell you, oh, we've added this new functionality to Power BI service. There is now a new experience to creating now this, there's now that. So that will help you to get exposure to Power BI service. Then I also manually, I just browse through the menus. So I browse through the menus manually, which is where we're going to end today's session. So what do I mean by browse through the manuals, the menus manually? I go to powerbi.com, I log in, and then once I log in, I just look through the menus, and then I will notice, oh, they've added something. Then I'll be like, noticing, oh, okay, this is there. I will take you through just the key aspects that I usually check, so that way you can also know what to watch at. You just look at just some aspect. I think you've looked at everything. Why is my internet? It's going to come up in some. Okay, great. It's coming up already. So the places I check are number one. I like to check this get data. So if you go to get data, it's not all the time you look something. Okay, check visual. Hello, Tableau keeps score for me. So if you just maybe I'm trying to do something. Hey, that's I got it with Tableau, or even if you're not, just go through the Tableau. They have a gallery too where people publish stuff and check it out. So I go to get data. I try to see what's new. So what's new can be I go to services. Usually these ones don't change. So I start to notice some things that I didn't notice before, and I can actually bring up some ideas of what to create. So that this is one place I usually quickly check. Then the next thing I do is I go to a workspace. Usually it's important. If you limit yourself to my workspace, what I want to talk about, you will not see all the features. But if you go to a workspace that is not my workspace, right? So when you go to a new workspace, just make sure you pick any workspace that is not my workspace. And then, so mine is loading up. You see this new button here. That's another place I check. So I noticed things there. There was no paginated report for a long time. Then there was also no data flow for a long time. So they keep adding new things there that it gives you some ideas. So when I see something that I don't know, then I try to click on it. Let's say maybe you don't know data flow. Then you click on it, and normally Microsoft is nice. They give you these learn more links. So when you click on it, you will see somewhere that will say to learn more about it. Then it takes you to a very comprehensive documentation. So can you see all this learn more? So if I click on any one of them to learn more, it takes me to a very comprehensive documentation by Microsoft that I can use to learn more about that particular thing. So that's another thing I use. Then as usual, the things I use a lot, the end result of my reports. So when I click on the reports, I try to just go through the menus up there in the report. So that's another, I pick a report, then I go through the menu at the top. Let me look for something else that will not drag. So let's say I pick something a bit simple report-wise. So when I pick a report, I begin to check what's new in file, what's new in all these. You know, I can export to PDF, I can export to PowerPoint. That's cool. I can share, I can chat in Teams, I can comment. Then I come here, I see some additional things that I can do, you know, so I can see related fields. You know, that's not the end. You see, on this other side too, we see some other things you can do. So I can, which is something is blocked. I can do this. I can. There is more to it than there should also be ability for us to to subscribe. Okay, that's here. Great. So I always check here. Once in a while, you see something new, and I do likewise too. I go to dashboard. I try and pick one dashboard, and I check what's new. So I try to see is there anything that has been added, you know, to all the functionalities there. Then I go to data sets. So from the data set, the first thing I do is data set. I click on these ellipses here. So when you click on the ellipses, you'll be able to see again some quick options. It doesn't change too frequently, but once in a while, some things might have added, right? So like for now, I can see downloading RDL. I'm sure it's not always been there because when I was writing the book, it was not part of what the options I see here. So they had some new things once in a while, and that's where you get to see them. I'm going to have to, after this training, go and read up about what's out already here. Yeah. Then I go to settings. So when you go to settings, you will see like also a collection of all the settings. So I go through them one by one, you know, and try looking at okay, what are the things that are new? Oh, let me enable developer mode. Let me do this. Let me do that. Let me enable my ArcGIS. You know, what are the alerts that you've set up? You know, so some things are easy for you to recollect or know when you see them. What are all the settings related to a dashboard? What are the settings related to a data set? And then, you know, this endorsement had some interesting things added. If you are in the Excel session today, this is where you go to you first certify a data, and then before you be able to make it promoted, I mean, as featured data set, and then that makes it automatically exposed to you in Excel. So that was what guy, the Microsoft principal project manager for Excel was saying. But then again, I always expand all of this and see what's new that I can, you know, make use of. Likewise, other ones. I just browse through the other ones to see what's about them that I should be aware of. And then there are apps. So these are what I normally do. And I think there's still one more place here, this place. So I just check again here, up here, all these menus up here. What are the things that are there that I have not been seeing before? So these are the ways that I normally just check out what's new on the service that I'm not behind. And you don't forget to that you have stuff here, home menu, apps shared with me, and then you know like that you you will be caught up on most of the updates that will have been pushed since the last time you checked. So thank you very, very much.